7, 14, -2, and I divide it by 0, on your calculator comes up error. What we want to put down is that this is undefined. Okay? Undefined is your answer. We talked about division by 0 at the beginning of the year. It's coming up again. 0 divided by any number. So 0 divided by 7, 0 divided by 5 on your calculator. What happened?
0.
It came out to be 0. You can divide 0 because this is asking you, what do you take times any number to get 0? And you multiply it by 0. So this answer is 0. This one is undefined. You need to make sure that you memorize these two things. You need to know that taking any number, and if you divide it by 0, it will be undefined, and 0 divided by any number other than 0 will always equal 0. Okay? That's going to keep coming up, because today we're going to talk about slopes of lines that are undefined and have a 0 slope besides having positive and negative. Okay? So if we are taking a look, some of our I can statements, we can find the slope of a line, we're going to do that. We can construct similar triangles. We're going to make two triangles that are similar. Similar means same size, different shapes. Okay. We're going to talk about unit rate in relation with slope. We've already been doing that. We're going to find our unit rate and slope of proportional relationships. We're going to use a graph, table, and equation as we look at those. So right now, as you are looking at what does the word slope mean? Because sometimes my writing is hard to read, I would like you to write down what I have up here. Slope is the measure of steepness of something. Example, it could be the ratio, if we're thinking about how steep a hill is that we are going down, it could be the stairs, how steep they are. Like sometimes in older homes, stairs are really steep, but in newer construction, they have to meet a certain ratio. The other thing I want you to put back here, slope means ratio. Slope means ratio. Ratio is always, you're writing this down, you don't need your calculators at all for this. Dallas, set yours down. So ratio means you're going to have one number and you're going to compare it to another number. So number to a number. Slope is always a ratio. Tell me, do you see anywhere in that ratio the letter X? Do you see anything back there that has an X?
No.
No, I don't either. Because here's the thing. I'm going to ask people to find the slope later in this unit. And they say it's 4x, it's 2x, it's 1/3 x, it's 1/5 x. The x is never part of the slope, okay? So slope is simply a ratio that we are looking at. So make sure you have slope is a ratio. So slope is something that we measure the steepness of. That's one of the things that we are looking at. The next part that we want to write down in that same part, okay, so we got a few more things that are filling in. Notice this was way towards the top because we're going to have some more things that we need to write in. So the other things that we are putting in is that when we have a line on a graph, we can calculate the slope with a formula. I'm going to give you the formula, so you're writing this down. So when we have a slope of a line, we can always use a formula. The second half of this unit, or today's lesson, we're going to give that formula. Okay? When we start out, that formula is simply as simple as this. The vertical change over the horizontal change. The vertical change over the horizontal change. Anytime we're finding change, like if I asked you for your change in height, what operation do you do? From your height, like maybe in 5th grade to your height in 8th grade, what would you be doing to find your change in height? You'd subtract the two numbers. So I want you to keep in mind that this vertical change, sometimes we're going to write it like this. I'll tell you the change in y. This triangle means change. Okay, that triangle means change. And what does change actually mean? It means we're going to subtract the y coordinates. Okay? And then the horizontal change, so vertical change, right, is going up and down. Horizontal change is going left and right. This is a change in our x coordinates. And again, what is change in x? It means that we would subtract our x coordinates. It's a slope is the same as unit rate in a proportional relationship. What makes it proportional? It had to go through what point? Through 0, 0, right? The origin. So if we are looking at it being proportional, it has to go through 0, 0. Now a lot of ours you're going to see are proportional. But one of the first ones we see is not necessarily proportional. You can still find that slope of a line. It's a ratio. Everyone have this written down? Yes. Okay. So if I walk by and see your notes, I have change in y, change in x, all of this going back.
Do you have a hard copy?
So, that next page down in your notes, it says, we want to find the slope of a line through 2 points, 3, 3, and 7, 5. Now, the first page of your homework, I am going to give you a graph like this and just going to ask you to find the slope. It says the first thing you're going to do if you're given 2 points is you are going to be asked to connect those 2 points and make a line, then find the rise and find the run. So rise, remember, is our vertical change. How much did we change going up from 3, 3 to get to 7, 5? How much did you go up? How many units? 2 units. So we're going to put in 2 here for our rise. We're going to put 2 in here for our rise. Okay? Next it says our run. Remember, that's how much you're changing. And in this case, we are moving to the right, so it's positive. When we went up, it was positive. We went over 4. So our run is 4. 2 over 4, but we want to simplify that. 2 divided by 4 is going to give us what fraction? 1/2. Someone said, can I change it to a decimal? No. The main reason is anytime we're working with slope, it's a ratio, and it tells us this is how high you're going up or down, and this is moving left or right. So we want to keep this as an answer as 1/2. So the first half of your homework, the first 6 problems, I ask you to look at a graph and simply tell me what is the slope. As you look at that next page in your notes, slope of line tells us how steep that line is. We can also tell the slope by the direction. So the direction is important. Positive slope, negative slope. It says both of these are equally steep. Positive and negative signs tell us the direction of our line. Both graphs on the left has a +1. The graph on the left has a +1 for a slope. It is going up 1 unit and over 1 unit. And you can see that, up 1 and over 1. This one is going, instead of going up 1, each time you move 1 unit to the right, you are going down 1 unit. So it's -1 slope. I'd like you to put this picture right below. We're going to call this person our slope person. You want to get them here or not, that's up to you. Positive is going to be one of the eyes. It goes up to the right. Right below this picture, put negative, goes down. So up to the right, down to the right. And then we are going to have our person's mouth. And their mouth is very unemotional and has these 2 zeros at the end. So please put those 2 zeros. And this is the person's nose, and we're going to put a U. Now we just talked at the beginning of class that when we did division by 0. Division by 0. What happened when we divided by 0 on your calculator? What do you have on the top of your notes? What is the word we said? Division by 0? Undefined. So this line going up and down, that's what kind of a line? Vertical or horizontal? Vertical. So if we have a vertical line, this is telling me a vertical line that the slope, anytime I have a vertical line, my slope will be undefined. And you're going to see that a little later in class. We're actually going to find that. But that's what this U down here means. Okay, so if I can draw this picture, anytime I'm drawing or graphing, this is going to help me to remember, oh, my line went up, it has to be a positive slope. My line went down to the right, it has to be negative. Vertical, so his nose is telling us the U. And think about our horizontal line, right? Horizontal line is this mouth. And if I look at a horizontal line, what should the slope be? Our slope is going to be, what's on both ends? 0. Slope of a horizontal line is always going to be 0. Okay? And you're going to see this a little later because we actually do this division. But I will probably tell you, and if you want to put hair on this person or do whatever you'd like, I don't care. But this will help you, drawing this picture, will help you to make sure you don't lose when I ask you for the slope and it's negative and you tell me a positive number. Or you tell me a negative slope when it should be positive. Anytime a line goes down to the right, it's going to be negative. Anytime a line goes up to the right, it's going to have a positive slope. Okay? So, in this next page, as you are looking at this, it says, we are asked to pick one pair of points and make a small triangle. So I don't care where you pick those 2 points on this picture, problem 3, and make a small triangle. To me, it doesn't matter if your triangle is above or below, but I'm going to make this small triangle. Okay? It says, find 2 pairs of those points, and then I'm going to put small triangle, and I'm going to put the rise over the run. So from those 2 points that I picked, please pick your 2 and draw a right triangle. I don't care if you pick the same 2 that I did or not. Okay? So, Cody, what's my rise?
2.
2. And if I'm looking at my run, Sean, I'm looking at, how far am I going over my run? 1. So my slope of my small triangle is 2 over 1. You can leave it like that. Someone said, can I write it as 2? You can, but just remember, anytime you have the number 2, remember that that is telling us rise of 2, run of 1. So I'm going to probably leave it as 2 over 1. I would take 2 for the correct answer. Okay? So next, we're going to draw a big triangle. So we want to have a big triangle. Where do you want the points to go from? Do I want to go from this one all the way to the top? Do I want to go from here, here? All of these are going to be bigger. Where do you want me to start from? Someone pick a point.
Bottom.
Way at the bottom, so I'm going from -3, -3, -3. Should we go up to this one?
5.
If you want to make yours even larger, you can. Okay, my big triangle, if I am looking at it. What am I looking at, Jeffrey, for my rise of my triangle?
6.
6. So I'm going to put rise over run. And it is 6. And how far did you go over? What's my run then? 6 and over 3. Does that make sense? If you did the really large one, you had 8 and 4, right? Doesn't matter. What is 6 divided by 3 equal to? Simplifies to 2 over 1. So let's compare the answers in number 1 and 2. Are they the same answer if we look at that?
Yeah.
They're not exactly the same numbers when we have 6 over 3, but this is what I want you to write in your paper, on your notes. The triangles are similar. They have the same shape, but not the same size. They have the same slope. So write that down. Right in that box. The triangles are similar. They have the same shape, but not the same size. They will give us the same slope. Now, you're going to see this question, the last 2 questions in your homework kind of go something like this, where I ask you to draw 2 right triangles. It says, will you always get the same slope no matter what size the triangles are on this line, and why? And here's what I want you to write down. On this line, yes, you will always get the same slope, copying this down, because it is a straight line. You will always get the same slope because it is a straight line, meaning you have the same unit rate. I will wait a few minutes for you to copy this down. Instead of going from 2 far away points, or these 2, I'm going to go to the 2 closest points. So as I'm looking at it, I'm picking these 2 points. What is my rise from this point to this point? A rise of positive 1, right? I'm going up 1. And now when I move to the right, I'm moving how far to the right? 2. So I have a positive 1 over positive 2. Now usually we just write that as a positive 1/2, right? When I take a look at this next one, again, here I have 2 points kind of close together. These are a little more spread out. Does it matter which 2 points? No. Which ones do you want to pick, Romero? The top 2 or the bottom 2? Or the top one and the bottom one? Doesn't matter. Tell me.
Top 2.
Top 2. So I'm going to draw a right triangle. Okay. Does it matter if I draw my right triangle above or below?
No.
No. Okay, we're going to do it both ways. If we are looking at this part, what is my rise as I go from this point to go down? That's again and a half. 3. But since we're going down, would we say positive 3 or negative 3? Negative 3. Then we are moving to the right. How far am I moving to the right, Timothy? 2 spaces, so that's going to be positive 2 because we're going to the right. Now, if I look at this triangle in green, someone says, oh, I'm going up 3. So could I write it as a positive 3? And then you go back 2. That's going to be a negative 2. Are these the same? Are these exactly the same? This negative 3 over 2, positive 3 over, oh, I better make the right number, 2. Are those the same now? Or sometimes they might put the negative out in front, right? All of these are the same, right? If I put them in my calculator, every single one of them is going to give me a negative 1.5. Every single one of those is going to give me a negative 1.5. So it doesn't matter if your negative is in the numerator, in the denominator, or out in front, okay? But again, what might help me is I might draw that face, right? Positive line, negative, okay? So I know as I'm looking at this, positive and negative. I'm going to have you guys move up just a little, Grace, so I can walk that. All right. So if we continue, next we're going to use the formula. Someone said, why do they use this as x1, y1? This is telling us this is our point 1. So this is my first point. Put that right above that. First point. This is my second point. So that's why the sub 2. Okay? Notice it is not an exponent. It's a subscript. Okay? So the formula says, if I know 2 coordinates, because your homework, the second half, the next 7 through 12, is going to give you 2 problems that look like this. It's going to say you have the point 2, 1, and 5, 8. Find the slope. What you want to do is right below each point, you want to say, oh, this first 2 is going to be my x1. So please write that. This first 1 is going to be my y1. It's like my first point on my graph. The 5, 8, this is 5 is going to be my second x coordinate. This is going to be my second y coordinate. So please write that right below those. The x1, y1, the x2, y2. We missed this up here, so we want to go back over right down. Okay? All right. So as we are filling those in, how do we find the slope? In your homework for questions 7 to 12, I will need you to first write the formula. The formula is y sub 2 minus y sub 1. That's up above here. Divided by x sub 2 minus x sub 1. If I am looking at this, Janessa, what is my x or my y sub 2? If I'm looking at this, what is my 8? Minus, do you need to sit up in the front? You want to switch with Connor? Elijah? Switch with Connor. No, you cannot. You're lying. Okay, Connor, switch. We're going to have a new seating chart anyway soon because of the new semester, but sit there for now. All right, so what is my Y1 that I want to put, Riley? Y1. Okay, wait. Y1. So this was Y2. What is my Y1? Okay, so quiet, please. Y1 is 1, right? If I am looking at this, Johan, what is my x sub 2 point? What number is x sub 2? X sub 2 is what number? We just said y sub 2 was 8 and y sub 1 was 1. So we took 8 minus 1. What? So 5. Minus, Hunter, what is y sub or x sub 1? What number is x sub 1 up here?
Y1.
So x sub 1 is what number?
Oh,
Right above that.
2.
2. So I'm going to replace the x sub 1 with a 2. So 8 minus 1 gives me 7. 5 minus 2 gives me 3. And my answer for this question is, what is our slope? We are going to write our slope is 7/3. You are not going to change it. You are not going to change it to a mixed number because mixed numbers don't tell us the rise and the run, right? So when you are looking at yours, you'll keep it as a mixed number. So here, this time 1 is going to be our x of 1. So put that right below the 1, comma. Put the 7 is going to be our y sub 1. It's going to be my second y point. So my first x point, my first y point. Next, we are going to put right below the 6. The 6 is going to be our second x point. So we call it x sub 2. The 1 is going to be our second y point. So we call it y sub 2. We are going to write our formula for slope. Y sub 2 minus y sub 1 equals x sub 2 minus x sub 1. As we look at that, Abby, what are you going to use for y sub 2? 1. Kira, what am I going to use for y sub 1? 7. So I have 1 minus 7. In my denominator, Dallas, what am I using for x sub 2?
7.
Okay, so tell me, when I see this 7, the 7 goes with y1. What is my x sub 2? Because I wrote it right below it.
6.
6. So I'm going to put 6 minus Isaac what is my x sub 1? Minus 1. So the reason we're writing it right below each one is because that's the number that goes for x1, y1, x2, y2. So 1 minus 7 gives us a negative 6. 6 minus 1 gives us 5, and we are going to leave this slope as a negative 6/5. If we would plot these 2 points, if I plot 1, 7 and 6, 1, will it have the right slope? Is it negative?
No.
This is negative, right? If those were the 2 points, that would give us a negative slope. It now says use these 2 formulas to find horizontal and vertical. Now we just talked at the beginning of the class horizontal and vertical. What did we say vertical line slope was? Beginning of class? Vertical line was? So we're going to go with our blue line first. That's my vertical. If you can't remember, this is what you'll do on the test. Where's the vertical line points located? At 5, 4, and 5, 6. So please put those 2 ordered pairs. Everyone write those 2 ordered pairs. So vertical line, if we are finding the slope, we are going to take y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Zach, which one do you want to be your second point? The 6 or the 4?
The 6.
The 6. So we're going to go 6 minus 4, which then means in my denominator, I need to do what, Grace? What are my x coordinates that I'm subtracting? 5 minus 5. And if we look at this, 2 divided by 0.
0. So
No!
unidentified.
No! 2 divided by 0 is
0. Divisible.
It is. I will be looking for this word. A vertical line has a slope that is undefined. And if you think of drawing that face, right? Positive, negative, here is my vertical line, undefined. So now when I go to do the red line, right? The red line is my horizontal line. Let's pick 2 points on that horizontal line. If I'm picking 2 points on that horizontal line, this first one is located at 3, 2. The second one is over here at 8, 2. So Johan, start us out. M is equal to, we're going to take our y2 minus y1. Write this down. Some of you aren't writing. Over x2 minus x1. So Johan, what are you using for your y coordinates to subtract?
So for the y, I would use 3 times.
Okay, so let's make sure you understand that it's xy and xy. So for your y coordinate, and this is probably the most common mistake that you just told me, is taking 3 minus 8. Those aren't my y coordinates, those are my x's. So what are my y coordinates that you're subtracting? 2 minus 2. Over my x-coordinates, 8 minus 3. Someone said, would it matter if I took 3 minus 8?
Yes.
Because here I'm going to end up with 0 over 5, and here I'm going to end up with 0 over negative 5. And what happens with 0 divided by any number? It is...
Zero.
We just got undefined, people.
Number divided by zero is undefined.
So, you do need to memorize and know the difference between taking 0 and dividing it by any number and getting 0. And then taking a number and dividing it by 0. So, vertical line will always have an undefined slope. Horizontal line is always going to have a slope of 0. So anytime we are looking at it, a vertical line, slope is undefined. Horizontal line always will have a slope of 0. And my hint would be if you draw that face and you know the difference between horizontal going across like the horizon and the vertical, this should help you pretty much anytime you are looking at it to try and decide that, oh, this is going to be a 0 slope, and this has the U underneath it, means it's undefined. Okay? So, knowing that, we are going to fill these last 4 words in, and then there's one more thing at the top of the next page. So, we are going to fill in each of these words. This one should be what word? Going up to the right? Positive. Down to the right is?
Negative.
Negative. We said the mouth is, horizontal is? 0 slope, right? If we think of that slope person. And this is our undefined. And it says, how do you remember undefined? And what do they say here is that this is the only line that a person can't walk, if you're thinking of an undefined line. So if you think of it, remembering it that way, and then for me, the other way that I think is just the best way to remember this is looking at that slope face, right? That positive, negative, undefined,
I was wondering what I was
and 0, okay? So this will help you all the time as you are looking at that. So, we're going to turn to your homework. On your assignment in your workbook, you have a fraction divided by a fraction. So this is what this fraction means for our slope. It means m equals 1/7 divided by negative 1/5. But you guys remember, we're dividing fractions. Anytime you're dividing fractions, the rule is you keep the first number as 1/7 and you change it to multiplying by the reciprocal. So this is going to be our reciprocal. And we're going to have negative 5 over 1. So what does the slope come out for number 9? Negative 5/7. There is one more page, 13 and 14. So there are 3 pages to this assignment. We will get your quiz back tomorrow.